Chad Robichaux is joining me today. He's a former Force Recon Marine with 8 deployments to Afghanistan, and he's also the founder of the Mighty Oaks Foundation. Chad, thanks so much for joining me once again. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back on.
Of course. Now, last time we spoke, it was back in July, I believe it was July 12th. You had made a lot of predictions about what would happen in Afghanistan, and unfortunately, they came true. Most of your predictions, including the Taliban taking over, did come true, as we saw over the weekend. You seem to, see the writing on the wall pretty clearly. The Biden administration, not so much. Why do you think that is? Do you think they were more focused on the optics of, of removing our troops from Afghanistan than facing the reality that we are now fully engulfed in?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, the intelligence community and all of his military advisors were saying the same things that I said. This wasn't very hard to predict. He went against their wishes and did a hasty, not withdrawal, but complete pullout of our military from Afghanistan. And I think right now what I'm seeing from the American population and a lot of even newscasters, conservative newscasters, or starting from the wrong foundational position. Everyone's starting with, okay, we were in this long war. It's been 20 years. It was time to end this war. We should have withdrew differently, had a better strategy. And if you're starting from that position, that's really just a false premise. And we were saying things that we were conditioned to say based on being fed this narrative from the military. The truth is, we should not have left or completely withdrew from Afghanistan. This premise that we should is completely false. What we had in Afghanistan was only 4,000 U.S. military on Bagram Air Force Base supporting and advising the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police, the ANA and ANP. And we have been doing that in that capacity for about 2 years now. We haven't been in a war in Afghanistan with the Taliban for a long time. And so to say that we need to hurry up and get out of this war is just not true. In fact, what Bagram Air Force Base did, which is a perfect picture of how the global community should support an area like Afghanistan, is the international community all came together and we're rotating on and off of Bagram Air Force Base and supporting and advising the Afghan National Army for the Afghan country to fight the Taliban and keep them at bay. And you know what? It was working. They were keeping them at bay. They were pushing to Pakistan. Afghanistan was, for the most part, safe. The world was safer because the Taliban did not have a strong foundation, and we withdrew anyway. So why did we withdraw? When you say we needed to, because President Biden would say I didn't want to give this to a fifth president. I didn't want to keep this long-term war. So you have to ask why he did, and you have to look at other examples. Afghanistan can't be sitting alone as a model by itself. How about Japan? We left Japan in the 40s. And Germany in the 40s after World War II, but we're still there. We have 80,000 troops in Japan still. We have 40,000 troops in Germany. South Korea, we have 30,000 troops after the Korean War, still there. So if we have 80,000, 40,000, 30,000 here and there after these wars that happened so long ago, why can we not have 4,000 in Afghanistan? What was the rush? What was the urgency? Why would we give up Bagram Air Force Base, which is in my opinion, in the current condition of the world, the most strategic location on the map? It sits between Russia, China, Iran, Syria, Iraq. It sits right in this most strategic point, and the global international community was using it to keep the world safe. Why give it up? The only explanation I have, and I'll put it I'm not being a conspiracist here, but the only explanation I have is who benefits from it? China. China is the only person that benefits from it. China has been trying to buy Afghanistan for many years. They want the Hindu Kush Mountains for mineral rights. And so the only explanation that I could have is why is because it benefits China. They're the only people to benefit. And if you look in Afghanistan right now, amidst all the chaos, whatever news station you turn on, you see all this chaos. The only peoples whose embassy is untouched and secure is Russia and China. And so
that's such an interesting point you bring up because, obviously from an American perspective, you're looking at everything unfolding and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's so horrible. You see the videos of people literally clinging on to planes as they're leaving. But for Russia and China, and this is something that I've been thinking about, even other terrorist organizations, what message is this sending that, after 20 years, the United States just leaves?
Yeah, I mean, and Russia and China have already acknowledged the Taliban as the rightful leaders. Of course, they would. They want to have access to the mineral rights in the Hindu Kush Mountains, and they want Afghanistan because it's the most strategic location on the globe right now, and we gave it away. And you know, it sends a terrible message that this country, America, is weak. Look, when America is strong, the world is a safer place, and America just showed how weak we are right now. We have 10,000. I can't even fathom that I'm even saying this right now. We have 10,000 Americans that are still in Afghanistan right now. We have 80,000 of our allies in Afghanistan right now. I'm getting 5 to 10 emails an hour because I'm working on some humanitarian efforts to get Afghans out and get Americans out. I'm getting 5 to 10 emails. People were like, I have an American girl hidden. I have 4 girls here. I have 250 girls here. We have thousands of girls. Like, all these people are Christians, people that were running schools, mostly women and children, asking for help. Our interpreters, they're begging for help. And I could tell you, like, when we have 10,000 Americans on the ground in my time in the military, and especially in special operations, if we had just one American in a foreign country that needed help, we would scorch the earth to get them out. We will utilize every bit of military resources, assets, and strength to get that person out. And we have 10,000, and the president is out of his office on vacation. The White House press secretary, vacation. Where's the vice president? Where's the secretary of defense? They can't be found. This is insane. And it's a complete disgrace to our country on a global stage. And I don't know how anyone in the world ever trusts America to ally with us in battle again.
Yes, and you know, after our last interview, something that stayed with me, you know, since we last spoke, and I wanted to bring it up again today, was you talked about your friend who, you know, helped you, saved your life, saved other Americans' lives. He has 6 kids, a wife, that his family ratted him out to the Taliban. Do you have any update on him?
Well, I had him, just showed you how amazing this guy is and how many of the, you know, Afghans that we served with are. About 3 days ago, I was able to get him and his family out. And we heard about these.
I'll be honest, I've been thinking about that because that story just stuck with me for the last, you know, month or so. And I know, you know, you talked about it and how you played soccer with his kids. So that was, you know, something that I really was curious about. And
there's a big but though on that one. I say I was able to get them out when he heard about all these girls and women that we were trying to get out. He said, I can't leave. I have to stay.
Okay.
So he's still there.
Okay.
Working with us to get other people out, which is he had a guaranteed way out, and he said, no, I have to stay and help these people.
Wow.
And so they're right now working with us, doing with what he does, why I love him so much and why I care about him so much, and helping his fellow countrymen to get safe. And so unfortunately he's not out, but he's choosing to stay there. And you know, hopefully and preferably we'll get him out as we pull some of these other people out as well.
Now, is there anything that you know of the administration doing? I know President Biden talked about on Monday authorizing more troops to go in to help out with the efforts, you know, sending troops back essentially to Afghanistan. What is the administration actively doing to help those people out?
Well, they're getting in the way, first of all. All these humanitarian efforts to get Americans and Afghans out have been stifled because the United States military took control of the Kabul airport. Obviously, I love the military and support the military, and I believe they should take the airport because they need to. But instead of just taking the airport, we need to get some people out as well. The only thing the administration is allowing the military to do is to secure that airport, not to go in and get Americans, not to go in and get our allies. They're able to secure the airport, and if we can get people to the airport, we can get out. And so that's the only thing the troops are doing. They're not offensively going after the Taliban. They're not fighting the Taliban. They're strictly holding security perimeter around the airport, which is, I mean, any strong leader would say the obvious. Taliban, like, first of all, this is looking forward, because looking backwards, this should never happen in the first place. Looking forward, the Taliban needs to stand down, get out of the way. The United States military is going to be coming through and getting our people. And if you're getting away, we're going to erase you off the planet. That should be the message. And stand down, stand out of the way, and let us. And we're going to go get our people. But that's not what's happening. We're securing an airport, and holding at that airport facility. And in some cases, it has been getting in the way of real humanitarian efforts of people who want to go in and get those people. And so the administration needs to, step up and do the right thing. Unfortunately, I don't believe they will. And this is going to end very, very badly. I hate giving predictions because I was right on the last one. I hate giving bad predictions. And my prediction in this is it's going to end very badly.
Well, maybe your predictions will actually be heard, and there could be some type of change of action or change of plan that we could help out the people, especially the people who helped us. The man you were just talking about, I know he had a way out, but to choose and stay, I mean, that speaks volumes of him, that he wouldn't leave women and children behind when he had the option to get out.
Yeah, I mean, this is who some of these people are. I mean, it's just amazing to me that we can leave a vulnerable people that way. As soon as we took Bagram Air Force Base away, as soon as we took their air power away, every military strategist knew that Afghanistan would fall within days. And, for President Biden to get in his press conference yesterday and blame this on the Afghan military is just disgusting. To say they didn't want to fight for their country. And I even see Americans and conservative and good Americans who don't understand and have been lied to say, well, they need to fight for their own country. They have been. They lost 50,000 Afghans fighting for their country. 50,000. I mean, they are fighting for their country, but there's only so much that they can do when they've been supported by not just America, but by the entire international community for 20 years. And that was taken away from them in 24 hours. There's only so much that they could do. And the world led them down. And America was the leader in letting them down. And it's a tragedy. And my message to the Afghan people is, what the administration is doing does not represent the heart of the American people. The American people have compassion for the Afghan community, what they're going through right now. So many emails I'm getting, so many people on my Instagram are like following some of the videos I'm putting out and sharing this message. They're praying for Afghan people and wanting so many people. I'm getting so many messages like, how can I help? What can I do? People that never even cared about Afghanistan before, like, what can I do? This is not right. The American people care.
You brought up the Afghan military, and as you also just mentioned, President Biden talked about the Afghan military during his press conference, his speech on Monday, that they trained and equipped the Afghan military of some 300,000 members. They were incredibly well equipped. Like you just mentioned, placing blame on the fact that they didn't fight back when the Taliban was, going throughout the country, taking territories. What happens now? I mean, if we did all this training, if we have, all this military equipment that we gave them, I think you talked about this last time, but essentially they're either going to be killed or they're going to become terrorists. Is that unfortunately another prediction that might come true?
Yeah, that's the choice they're going to have. They're either going to be killed or become the Taliban. I mean, this is what the Taliban's ideology is. You're either a convert or you're killed. I mean, in the military, the Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police is a sad example of that. What's going to take place, especially these young men, they're going to be given that ultimatum, and they're going to be killed with our weapons, our equipment. You got Taliban driving around MRAP vehicles and armored Humvees. We have Apache helicopters and Black Hawk helicopters there, which we can barely keep them in the air because of maintenance. So at least we know they won't be able to keep them in the air. So they'll be sold in the black market, and they'll end up somewhere in the world. But the worst example that we can give is the women of Afghanistan. The 20 million women of Afghanistan was immediately one of the first things the Taliban said. One of the very first statements they put out was immediately declaring 20 million Afghan women as sex slaves. You can identify it as however you want. But they said women from 15 to 45 will be married to Taliban fighters. They're war booty, and they're going to be re-educated, which means they're going to be educated into minimizing who women are and essentially become sex slaves, forced into marriage, or if they're not forced into marriage, they'll be sold into slavery or passed around to these Taliban fighters because of their disagreeing with their beliefs. These women right now, these young girls never grew up in Afghanistan, a tribal Afghanistan. They grew up in Afghanistan that we secured. They grew up in Kabul. They were educated. We built schools for them. They were educated, went to schools and colleges and universities. These are the women that we're talking about. These are the women that they're going to target and go after. And I'm getting emails from right now. They're terrified. I couldn't imagine being these young girls there right now. A little 12-year-old girl like sitting there terrified of what's about to happen to them. I mean, and if you want to get really explicit of what's going to happen, it starts with the genitalia manipulation that they do to these girls, the rape, the torture, just a life of complete oppression. And where right now, to me, where are all these social justice warriors that have been, raiding the streets of America for the last 8 years? Where are they at now? Because this is a real atrocity. This is a real oppression. 20 million women are going to be, and no one's going to defend them because the world, including America, is recognizing the Taliban as the rightful leaders of Afghanistan. Who's going to defend them?
It just gives you chills. I mean, just to think of the unimaginable happening, right? I mean, this is like you just brought up, you take young women, children who never knew a life under the Taliban are now being, thrown into it essentially. And, your friend, I don't know if he has any daughters, but, that's something that obviously touches close to home for you because, these girls personally, and to see them being put back into these what you just described with rape and being declared sex slaves is just so horrible.
Yeah, and like I said, the most disgusting thing about it. I mean, you can be mad at the Taliban, but that's just who they are. Like you can't. I mean, if you get eaten by a tiger, you can't get mad at the tiger. A tiger is being a tiger. Right. So we get mad at the Taliban, but we already know that's who they are. Who we should be mad at is the global leaders, starting with our own president, who are openly declaring the Taliban as the rightful leaders of Afghanistan and giving it to them, knowing who they are. Like it shouldn't be a surprise the Taliban's doing this, but what should shock and disgust everyone, and no one should be okay with, is that the president of the United States is willingly giving this country to one of the most sadistic and brutal terrorist regimes on the planet, and no disregard.
Just in terms of President Biden, he also talked about President Trump's withdrawal plan that would have been scheduled for May 1st, and he talked about that in his speech on Monday. Where were the differences, I guess, between Trump's plan and President Biden's plan, or was it sort of, obviously President Trump was voted out in November, so we might not have gotten the full picture of it, but sort of what, I guess, would he have done differently, do you think, at least?
That's a question I asked. I spoke to General Kellogg, who is our national security advisor for President Trump. I spoke to him personally about this question, and I spoke to other people who was in the Trump administration. And what everybody needs to understand is the language behind this. A withdrawal in a reduction of forces and a drawdown is not the same as a complete pullout. I don't believe, and from what I'm told, is that President Trump would have never given up Bagram Air Force Base. We would have always kept a contingent of U.S. military there to work in a support and advisory capacity to assist and support the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police. In fact, if you go back and listen to Joe Biden a week ago, he said he would do the same thing and did, or maybe not a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. He said he would do the same thing, provide air support and all these things, and he didn't. And so that was the withdrawal that I would have believed, that I believe we were talking about President Trump doing. What we've seen with Joe Biden was a complete pullout in zero support. We've seen zero support to Afghanistan, and not only to Afghanistan, but to our own American citizens, which is, a crime to me. I mean, you can't leave American citizens in a country like that and not go save them. Like I said earlier, as a special operator, like I can tell you many a times, they were U.S. service member or U.S. personnel, or even a foreign. I remember a British journalist was caught one time, and we were getting him from the Taliban. And I mean, we had American special operators willing to die to go get and just again scorch the earth to get one person. And now we got 10,000. You're not going to do anything about it. It's beyond.
Why do you think they won't do anything about it? Or maybe is maybe hopefully there's something going on that's top secret that we don't know about, but as it appears to the public, nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, but I can tell you from every indication I have, and I'm pretty plugged in, there's nothing happening. And even if it was, you don't wait on something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's weakness. It needs to be firm. It needs to be fast. It needs to be aggressive. And the Taliban needs to be immediately put on notice that, the United States military is coming in with the full force and full arm, all of our assets and all of our strength, and we're going to get our people. And you need to get out of the way. And that message should have been told from the podium yesterday. It should have been told to the world, and also it should have been told to the American citizens who are in hiding right now, scared for their life, to know, hey, we're coming for you. You're going to be safe. We're going to get you out of there. But that message was not conveyed. He didn't even talk about the Americans that are there.
He didn't. That's actually a really, great point that you brought up, that he didn't talk about the American citizens that are still there. He talked about that he was standing behind his decision, and that basically he wouldn't have done anything differently. He did say that the Taliban takeover happened a lot quicker than they were anticipating, which, as you brought up in our last interview, last time we spoke, that it was inevitable, despite him saying that it wasn't. So unfortunately, now we're in this situation.
There's a lot of amazing humanitarian efforts from countries around the world who are participating, from amazing Americans and people from all over the world that are hearing the cries from our Americans there, from our allies there, and the Afghan people, and we're working diligently in some of these humanitarian efforts to go in and rescue these people who can't defend themselves.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for joining me again to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan. I really do hope that your friend eventually is able to get out of the country safely. My heart goes out to all the American citizens, as well as our Afghan allies that were in the region helping us. Like I said, especially your friend and his family. So thank you so much for joining me again. And in the future, I'm sure there will be more Afghanistan news. So I'd love to have you back on to talk about that.
Anytime, yeah, absolutely. I love being on with you.